as much as you acknowledge that I didn't do it, but also it's also about that fact of how do you react to it. Are you going to continue doing it whenever you have a chance, or are you going to slack off? Are you going to slack off? It's something that we don't truly look at it. And I feel like in terms of that thing of dieting, and as I mentioned, that is, I love emphasizing on the fact of that this thing of influencers, because they are pushing different brands of thinking that of in leading people that, okay, if you choose this certain brand, this certain diet, you will get your dream body. So what is your perspective on keto? Keto fasting or plant-based eating? How do you help your clients navigate these trends?
Great question, because there's no shortage of trends out there. And like you mentioned, there's no shortage of influencers with huge followings preaching that their way is the way, and you'll be successful if you just follow their rules. And it's very hard to tell who knows what they're talking about and who just happens to have a big following, maybe because they look really good or they've bought a bunch of bots to follow them. Who knows? It's really hard to know who's trustworthy. So first and foremost, there is no best diet. There is no one way of eating that everybody should be following. Nutrition science is just not that advanced. There probably will never be an answer to that. But if there is, we don't know it yet. What we do know is that different things work for different people. And we know that energy balance is what drives weight gain, weight loss, weight maintenance. So all dietary approaches, whether it's keto or fasting or plant-based or whatever else is out there, the reason that they help people lose weight is because they are restricting some form of your diet that, for a lot of people, causes you to eat less. So it's not that the carbs were bad in the first place. It's that you were eating a lot of carbs, probably processed ones that weren't very satiating. And now if you're keto, you can't eat any of those things. As long as you're not making up for those calories elsewhere, you're eating less, you lose weight. If you are fasting, some people still eat more calories than they need just in a condensed window. But a lot of people, just by eliminating the evening snacking and delaying the first meal, will naturally eat less. That's why it's working. It's not magic. With plant-based, again, if you think about all the animal products you were eating that now you're not, well, there's your deficit right there. So I think it's important to help clients see that all of those can work, and also none of them are necessary. It really depends on the person as to what tools are useful. Most people do like there being rules and parameters and very clear, like, do this, not that type things, which, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think feeds the yo-yo cycle, where if we're just following rules that we don't necessarily think much about or didn't create ourselves, we will follow them, we get results, we feel good about it, but at some point we get tired of following rules that somebody made up for us. We have this kind of inner rebel that's like, I don't want to do this just because you're telling me to now. Like, I'm tired of following these rules. And you want to have a glass of wine after dinner, or you want to have ice cream with your kids. But if you're fasting, you've told yourself you can't do that. You want to go out and have a steak or a burger, but that's not allowed. So there reaches a point, right? It reaches a point where you just stop wanting to follow the rules. So I think what's most important is that you take the time to figure out what's right for you. And that goes back to that kind of long-term vision that we were talking about of, who do you want to be and where do you want to see yourself in the future? And asking, can I see myself doing this long term? You're not making a lifelong commitment. You can always change your mind. But odds are, if you don't see yourself doing it relatively long term, you don't need to do it now either. You can figure out your own rules and guidelines. And I think part of helping clients be successful is being relatively dietary agnostic, where it's like, I'm going to help you figure out what works for you. And you can take a little bit of this and that from here and there and make it your own thing. And it doesn't have to have a name. It doesn't need to be somebody else's idea. It can be using myself as an example, I generally don't eat after dinner because I know that's when I'm taking in mindless calories that I'm not actually hungry for. I like to delay my first meal until I get my workout in, get my son to school. I don't consider it intermittent fasting though, because I don't want to feel like boxed in to a certain time frame. I also mostly prefer to eat, kind of an unprocessed whole foods diet, paleo-esque. And also, sometimes I make myself a sandwich. Sometimes I have cereal. And I don't tell myself I'm doing something bad because that doesn't fit into the criteria of this other diet. So you're in the driver's seat in your life. And I think that's what's so important to remember is you don't need somebody to tell you how it has to be. And you're going to be so much better off if you are willing to do the experimenting, certainly with someone's help, but to figure out what feels livable and enjoyable for you, because you're going to have to eat for the rest of your life.